Hello and welcome to my class on optic nerve, that is second cranial nerve and visual pathway. So this is second part of my class. In this part I will tell you about applied anatomy and about visual reflexes. First come to applied anatomy. First is scotoma. So, scotoma is a defect in visual field. So there occur a partial alteration of field of the vision. So blindness or any defect in this visual pathway is conventionally described with reference to field of vision rather than with reference to the part of retina. So any small patchy alteration in this field of vision is known as scotoma. So usually the surrounding field is normal around the scotoma. So here look at one example. It's the central scotoma, in which this fovea region is mainly the central vision is affected, and this macular area. So in this case this patient will feel difficulty while reading. Now come to few of the terminologies related to this field defect or visual field defect used to describe various type of blindness. First is this anopia, anopsia or amblyopia. So these three terms they are used to describe complete blindness. So look at this image. Here there is a complete blindness on the right eye. So this is the anopia or anopsia of the right eye. Next is hemianopia, that is loss of vision of one half of visual field. So either right half or left half, and here in this image you can see these are the two images showing hemianopia, where there occur a loss of one half of the this visual field. Now hemianopia can be either homonymous or heteronymous. So what is homonymous? Homonymous means loss of vision of one half of visual field. So that is same half. So if it is same half, like in this image, here it is this left half of the both eye visual field is affected, so it is homonymous hemianopia. While in this upper image, this right half of right eye and left half of the left eye is affected, so it is the opposite half. Here it is known as heteronymous hemianopia, that is loss of vision of the opposite half of visual field. Now another type of anopia is quadrantic anopia, in which this quarter loss of field of vision. So this 1/5 or 1/4 of the vision is lost. Now come to the various types of visual field defects due to lesion on the various sites of optic pathway. First, in this image, look at site A. So due to damage to the retina in this site, it will cause central scotoma. So usually this area is the region of macula. So if this region is damaged, it will cause this loss of central vision, which I have already shown. So patient feel difficulty in reading in this type of condition. Next is look at the site B. So what is site B? It is optic nerve. So if there occur injury to the optic nerve of one side, it will result in total blindness of the eye of that side. So in this image, if right eye's optic nerve is damaged, both nasal as well as temporal fibers are damaged. It will cause loss of vision of the visual field of both right and left half of right eye. So this condition is known as monoocular vision loss, and this condition is mainly seen due to condition known as optic neuritis or inflammation in this region. Next, look at this image at site C. Here there is a damage of central part of optic chiasma, as may occur from pituitary tumor. Usually this optic chiasma is located right above pituitary gland, so it can compress this central portion of optic chiasma. So it will interrupt the crossing fiber of nasal half of two retina. Here you can see this nasal fibers, they are crossing. So what will be the result? The result will be the loss of vision of the both temporal field, as these nasal fibers are damaging. So this opposite field, that is temporal field of the both eye, will be affected. So this condition is known as bitemporal hemianopia, or you can also tell it as a tunnel vision, because only this central portion of visual field is normal. So it is also known as tunnel vision or bitemporal heteronymous hemianopia. It is heteronymous, as the left half of the left eye is affected and right half of the right eye is affected. So it is bitemporal heteronymous hemianopia. Now look at the site D, that is the optic tract. Site G, that is whole of the optic radiation, and site H, that is this almost whole of the occipital cortex. So if there occur damage to these three regions, that is complete lesion of optic tract, optic radiation, or the occipital lobe, in all these three conditions, it will damage these fibers, that is the temporal fiber of same side and nasal fiber of opposite side. So loss of the vision will be just reverse, that is loss of vision of the temporal half of opposite side and the nasal half of same side. So this condition is described as a contralateral homonymous hemianopia, as this opposite half of the visual field is affected. It is contralateral, but it is homonymous because this left half of the left eye is affected, and also the left half of right eye is affected. So it is homonymous. Now look at the site E and J. Here E is Meyers's loop, and this J is the lower part of occipital lobe, that is lower bank of Kilkerran fissure, so below the Kilkerran fissure. So it will produce a visual loss in the superior quadrant of opposite field of vision. So this condition is contralateral superior quadrantic anopia. So this inferior fibers of optic radiation and inferior aspect of this occipital lobe is damaged, it will cause superior quadrantic anopia. Now site F and I. So site F is the superior retinal fiber that is running in the parietal lobe, and this I is this superior part of occipital lobe above the calcarine sulcus. So this upper bank of calcarine fissure. So destruction of upper tip of calcarine sulcus of one side, it will produce a visual loss in the lower quadrant of opposite field of vision. So look at this image. It will produce contralateral inferior quadrantic anopia. So here you can see this contralateral inferior quadrantic anopia. Now look at the site K, or this lesion to the visual cortex. If only one artery, that is posterior cerebral artery, is occluded, it will produce a condition known as this contralateral homonymous hemianopia with macular sparing. So in this case, if this region is affected, this macular region is unaffected, so this central vision in the central region here, this region will spare. So as you have seen in blood supply of this region of occipital lobe, this large macular region is having dual blood supply. One is from the branches from the middle cerebral artery, and another is branch from the occipital artery. So if only one artery is damaged, it will produce macular sparing, and if there is a total damage to this region of occipital lobe, it will produce this condition, that is H, that is contralateral homonymous hemianopia. In this image you can see this region of the occipital pole, that is macular region, supplied by some of the branches of this occipital artery here, and some of the deep branches of the middle cerebral artery. Now this is the chart showing the various possible origin of the injury of various sites which you have seen. As I have told you, this optic nerve can be damaged due to optic neuritis, optic chiasma usually due to pituitary tumor. This optic tract may be damaged due to this temporal lobe tumor. Optic radiation, mainly the Mayer's loop, can be damaged due to tumor in the region of temporal or occipital lobe. And this superior retinal fiber, that is Burham's loop, is mainly affected due to tumor in the parietal and occipital lobe, as it is passing in this parietal lobe region. And this occipital cortex is mainly affected due to damage or dysfunction of posterior cerebral artery. Now come to the visual reflexes. So visual reflexes are mainly, the two important reflexes are, one is pupillary light reflex, another is accommodation reflex. So for pupillary light reflex, there is a separate fibers that is originating from the fibers to the lateral geniculate body, which is reaching to the pretactile nucleus in the region of midbrain. So what is light reflex or pupillary light reflex? So when in this image, look at this image, when this light is shown on one eye, normally the pupil of both eye constrict. So this light reflex can be of two types. One is direct light reflex, another is indirect or consensual light reflex. When we say direct, when there occur a constriction of pupil upon which the light is shown. If light is shown in right eye, there occur a constriction of pupil of the right eye. This is the direct light reflex. While the indirect or consensual light reflex is constriction of the pupil on the other eye, even though no light is shown. So if there occur a constriction of left eye, even though this light is shown in the right eye, this reflex is indirect or consensual light reflex. Now, this sphincter pupillae muscle is responsible for constriction of the pupil. Now look at the pathway for this reflex. The afferent fiber here start from the retina. Via retina, via its this optic nerve, optic chiasma, and this optic tract, some of the fibers reaches to the region of pretactal region or pretactal nucleus in the region of midbrain. Here it is located near to the superior colliculus. Now this fiber relay on the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, that is this parasympathetic component of third cranial nerve or oculomotor nerve. So here it is relying on this both half of both right and left Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Now this Edinger-Westphal nucleus of both side, they via this oculomotor nerve, it is the efferent fibers relay on the ciliary ganglion. So this oculomotor nerve is preganglionic for the ciliary ganglion. Now from ciliary ganglion via the short ciliary nerve, this nerve, it is supplying the sphincter pupillae, which can cause constriction of the pupil along with ciliaris muscle. So here it is the pathway of pupillary light reflex from the ganglion cells of retina to the pretactal nucleus of midbrain to the Edinger-Westphal nucleus to the ciliary ganglion in orbit, then to the short ciliary nerve supplying the sphincter pupillae and ciliary muscles. Now come to accommodation reflex. What is accommodation reflex? When the eye are focused from distant to near object. If we try to look this near object, there occur three reactions. One is constriction of pupil. Second is thickening of the lens due to contraction of ciliary muscles. And third one is this convergence of both eyeballs. So there occur a medial rotation of eyeball. So this three reactions, this together they are known as accommodation or near reflex. Now look at the pathway for this accommodation or near reflex. So visual information is carried via optic pathway to the occipital cortex, that is area number 17. From the occipital cortex, this information is carried via superior longitudinal fasciculus, that is a bundle of white matter connecting occipital lobe to the frontal lobe. So ultimately this information is reaching to the frontal eye field, that is area 8. From area 8 via this corticonuclear fiber, which is located in the internal capsule, via this corticonuclear fiber, the internal capsule, it is reaches to the oculomotor nerve of both sides. So ultimately from this oculomotor nerve it reaches to the this muscles of accommodation, that is medial rectus, ciliaris muscle, as sphincter pupillae. So as I have told you, this sphincter pupillae causes constriction of pupil. Now the ciliaris muscle is mainly responsible for this contraction of this ciliary body. So there occur a thickening of the lens, and this medial rectus causes medial rotation of eyeball, which can cause this convergence of both eyeball medially. So this is the pathway for the accommodation reflex. So this is all about optic pathway and its applied anatomy. Thank you.